welcome back to the Girly Girl Bookworm. So today I thought I would do something that's a little bit different. I thought I would share with you YA books that to me are just simply super nostalgic. They either remind me of something or I kind of like whenever I go to unhaul books from my shelves, I always look at them and go, I can't unhaul those are my babies. So I thought it would be kind of a fun, different idea. I've been on BookTube since 2012. I was a wee babe. I was 22, about to be 23 in like 2 weeks, which I like always had to say when I started my channel that I was almost 23. And so I just feel like I've lived a lot through the YA stage on here. I definitely did. That was like what was popular on here, so that's kind of what I really like got into and delved into and ate up. But I've also unhauled a ton of YA. So these are kind of ones that like whenever I do look at unhauls, I just can't part with them because they kind of just like have a place in my heart and I just can't get rid of them. So I thought it would be kind of fun to go through them and talk about them a little bit and kind of relive the nostalgic days of YouTube, right? The very first one is the Goddess Test series by Amy Carter. I remember buying this book at BJ's. It sounded really fun, and I remember binging it and all of a sudden realizing, like, oh, there's a second book, and then having to wait. This was, like, one of the very first series that, like, really kind of made me wait for books, and I was like, what? I have to wait? They're not just all out. This is a Greek mythology kind of retelling. Kate is with her mom, and her mom is dying of cancer, and she goes to her mom's like kind of like hometown, so that way her mom can kind of like die in peace. And when she's there, she has like no friends. And she meets this guy who is dark and torturous and mesmerizing and probably the devil himself. She ends up having to make a bargain with him. And in order to fulfill this bargain, she kind of has to go through these like 7 tests. And it's such a fun series. I have gone back and reread this since. I still have that nostalgic feeling for it. I probably would love to read it again if possible, but I'm terrible at rereading, so that probably won't happen, but love that series. Another nostalgic one is Forgive My Fins by Terrell and Childs. So, like, as these, like, mermaid books are kind of coming back, it makes me rethink of these, and I remember these just being really kind of stupid. But I loved them because they were cheesy, but they knew they were cheesy. I have no problem with books that are cheesy when they know they're cheesy. When books are cheesy and they don't know they're cheesy, that's when we get the problems. But I just remember this one being really fun. It was about this girl, and she was a mermaid, and she got to, like, go and, like, live with her aunt, I think. And you're supposed to, like, when you have your first kiss, you're supposed to mate with this person for life. So she was trying to kiss this boy because she wanted to like mate with him, but she ends up kissing someone else by mistake, and it causes all this uproar, and it's a trilogy. Yeah, this one is also a trilogy. I don't know if I said that, but it was a lot of fun, and another one that I would probably like love to reread in the future if I had the chance. I don't think it would stand through time, but I think it would just be a really fun read. This one has just all the nostalgia in it for me, and that is The Luxe Beginnings, but in particular Obsidian, because I got Obsidian as an ebook way after like all the hype for it was going on. I think I got it for like 99 cents or like something like that, and I read the entire book pretty much because I was so nervous about going on my first date with my husband. That day before we met, because we had met online, and so we were going to meet at a Starbucks, and before that, I think we were meeting at the Starbucks at like 3 or noon or something, I don't remember, and I was so nervous that I practically binge read Obsidian, because I was loving it, but also I was a nervous wreck, and I remember leaving to go to the date, and then coming home, and having to binge finish it because I like wanted to find out what was happening. But yeah, so this always will remind me of my first date with my husband. And so here we are. Delirium by Lauren Oliver. This series, I remember being so big on BookTube, and I have like this like ugly cover version of it. Does not match the other two books in my series collection of it. But I remember because I started BookTube in September, and I discovered my library had a used bookstore in the basement in like November, and I got this book for like $1. I remember going down there and finding this and like shrieking because I was like, this is what everyone's been reading on the internet and I need to read it too. And I remember being so excited, and I loved this series so much, which is funny since love was basically like the most dangerous thing in this book. And I remember the third one when everybody kind of hated it, but I somehow loved it still. And so this one, again, can't go anywhere. I feel like just Morgan Matson in general, she is just such a great person. Again, in general, because I've met her and she was fantastic, and I've loved all of her books. I'm like dying for her to release another one because she has not released one since I've met her. So I just feel like she's always going to have that like summer vibe feeling, especially because a lot of her books take place in Connecticut, in Sandwich, Connecticut, which is not a real town, but like, so I've always kind of had a soft spot for her because I live in Connecticut. So again, she's just somebody that I will always keep her books. I don't think I'll ever be able to get rid of them. Burn for Burn by Jenny Han and Siobhan Vivian. I don't know why. I just like have such great feelings when I see this book and see this series, and I really want to reread them. And I don't even remember what was so special about them that I loved them, but I just like can't part with them because I just remember them being fantastic and like loving them. Even though I'm pretty sure if I read them now, I'd probably think they were trash. But at the time, I adored these. So these were so fun. Then we got to All the Boys I Loved Before by Jenny Han, just because, again, it's just a series that just sticks out as something special. I remember being on a book buying ban and my husband secretly buying me book 2. We were still like dating at that point, so it was like a big deal for him to buy me like the surprise gift. And I don't know, they just bring out so much joy in me. It's so weird. I still haven't watched the Netflix series, but the books just, I think because the books meant so much to me that I don't want the movie to ruin it. I don't know, but these I don't think I can get rid of either. Unearthly by Cynthia Hand. This is kind of what started my Cynthia Hand love. And I love her books as well. This is like the only Angel series that I think I actually really liked. Like there were so many Angel series I tried to get into and I couldn't, but this was like the most addicting read for me. And I remember wanting the hardcovers of these so bad because they had that like shiny cover. They kind of reminded me of the Delirium cover, and I just wanted the hardcovers so bad, but I was so much more willing to buy the paperbacks, and so I have them in paperback, but I always regretted not having the hardcovers, but I will never trade these. To go with my mermaids, Wake by Amanda Hocking. I remember devouring these books and then like thinking I was all set having the 3, and then the 4th one came out. Yeah, these were another, I think I borrowed like book 2 from the library, and then I ended up returning it to the library because I was able to get it like really cheap when Amazon used to have like the bargain section. I don't know if they still have the bargain section. But yeah, this was another series that I just feel like guilty pleasure-y looking at it. And I can't get rid of them. And I just remember when people would show this one in their videos, because they would be like, don't forget it's like shiny, and like the camera's not doing it justice. Another series that I remember really, really loving is Eve by Anna Carey. And the trilogy part that bothers me is the 3rd book ended with no epilogue. And I had to wait for it to be printed in paperback because then it was in the paperbacks. So I remember sitting in a bookstore with a paperback, just reading the epilogue so I could like finally have a conclusion to my story. But this kind of reminds me now kind of like The Handmaid's Tale and Grace Year a little bit. But I remember being so addicted to these and refused to get rid of these. Again, I don't know if they would last if I read them again, but like at the time, like this series was like everything. Another trilogy that I feel like all of these I'd say, like, I wish I could reread these, but I just don't have the time. Vixen by Gillian Larkin. This is another trilogy. It takes place in the 1920s, and it was just so much fun. This is another one I discovered in my local library for 50 cents, and I have been waiting for Gillian Larkin to come out with something else, and she has yet to write another book. So I'm just like, maybe this was her one and done, write the trilogy and call it a day, but at the time, I really, really enjoyed these, and I really wish she would write something else just to see like how her writing would progress or what, but I was really sad when she never wrote anything else. We've got Dangerous Girls by Abigail Hawes. This was one of those first books that really took me by surprise. We've got text messages and emails and things in this book that just like made this so phenomenal. And the twist at the end, this book, I think I've reread it twice or maybe just once, but like this is just one of those books that I just have so much fun with that I just love it. The cover I don't believe looks like this anymore, and I know that I don't think this one has lasted over time because I think I've seen other people review it and not love it, but like to me it always has a soft spot in my heart, and I kind of want to reread it right now. I just talked about this in another video that I don't know if it's up already or not, but it's Ophelia, and this is a retelling of Hamlet, but Ophelia's perspective. And I remember buying this on a random whim on Amazon, and I remember being so surprised and loving this one, so much to the point where I gave it 5 stars, and because I gave it 5 stars, I won't get rid of it. Every time I look at it, I'm like, I don't really need that one. And I'm like, but you gave it 5 stars, so you need to keep it. So nostalgic for it. The Maze Runner by James Dashner. I refuse to get rid of the series. The like spin-off prequel, I didn't really love The Kill Order, and then I've still like they came out with another one, The Fever Code, and I've been kind of tempted to read it, but I feel like I've been so far removed from the series, I don't know if I would enjoy it or not. If you enjoyed The Fever Code, let me know. Really enjoyed these movies. The second one gives me nightmares, so I kind of don't rewatch them just because the second one brought back to film life was totally creepy, but really enjoyed this one. So I always kind of have that YA dystopian nostalgia for this one, as well as Divergent. I have this one in paperback and the other two in hardcover, and it drives me nuts. And I kind of always get tempted to get rid of this one and get the hardcover so that way they can all match. But I'm so, like, I remember finishing Hunger Games and needing something else and getting this one from BJ's. And I haven't been able to replace it because it's, like, this is the book that made me fall in love with Divergent. I can't get rid of it. I'm the odd one who loved book 3. I remember being emotionally completely wrecked by book 3, but I still loved it. I never watched the movies because I think, again, I was too scared that they would ruin the books. And then I'm glad because I think I remember Divergent, Insurgent, what's the last one? Allegiant. I think the Allegiant movie was supposed to be broken into 2 and they only released part 1. So they're kind of unfinished anyways. So I never watched them, but I would love to reread these one day. Basically, we should start a drinking game for how many times Nicole says, I want to reread this, and then doesn't. Welcome to the Dark House by Lori Faria Stellares. I absolutely, like, love this book so much that, like, I sent the envelope in to get free signature stickers. Because if you went on our website, it was like, oh, if you send me an envelope with postage, I'll send you signed book plates. So I did. I loved book 1. Book 2 was kind of okay, and I kind of always waited to see if she'd come out with a book 3. I don't think she ever did. But I've reread this one, so it's definitely one that has kind of always stood out to me. I was not a huge fan of horror, and I still kind of am not, but for some reason this one just like worked for me. I know a lot of people this did not work for, but for me, I was like addicted, and I love this one, and again, I refuse to get rid of it. Sweet Venom by Tara Lynn Childs. So Tara Lynn Childs makes this list not once, but twice. And I think this one, because it kind of has, if I remember correctly, it's kind of like these girls are 3 girls that somehow come, they're the 3 teenage descendants of Medusa. That's right. They're the descendants of Medusa, and they have to go killing monsters. And I loved this trilogy so much. I think this was like an old library copy, yeah, because it's all like nasty. I should buy another copy. But I have the other 2 books too, and this was such a fun trilogy that I hope this lasts through time, because that was such a fun take on Greek mythology, and it needs to be done more. Women power. Another one that I've actually reread, guys. I reread one that is 10 by Gretchen McNeil. I've actually, I think, read this one 3 times. And there's a Amazon. I don't remember if it's free or not. I don't think it's free. I think it was like 99 cents or $3.99. I don't remember. I think I paid whatever it was. There's a movie adaptation of it, which is kind of garbage, but I didn't care. This is like an Agatha Christie and then there were none retelling except teenagers. Trash. But I am so here for it. I was there for it then, and I'm still here for it now, and I will probably reread this again at some point. I remember, too, this takes place over President's Day weekend, and I read it over President's Day weekend, and I was like... Across the Universe by Beth Revis. Guys, this cover... I love this edition. I wish my sequel was the one that looked like this one, but they're so expensive online. I'm not willing to do that. I remember being so stupid about this book too. I thought originally that it was like, here's a blob and it was coming to meet this blob. I did not see the people's faces for the longest time. And then I finally saw that and I was like, you're a complete idiot. So for the longest time, I never saw their faces. And like now that you see it, you can't unsee it. But for the longest time by watching it on BookTube, I just thought it was blobs that were like coming together. But I love the series. It's probably like the only like true sci-fi book I've ever read. And that's probably lame. But I remember loving this. And people kind of like fell off the like Across the Universe train once book 2 happened. But I really like book 2. I think book 2 is actually one of my favorites. Book 3 kind of fell flat, but like I remember really liking this trilogy. This series, Tiger's Curse by Colleen Houck. I remember falling in love with these covers, and they were beautiful. And I read the first 4, and book 5 took about 5 years to come out. She ended up having to self-publish it, and I don't remember. I just remember it being a mess, but I remember loving this and people hating it because the main character was kind of annoying, but I just remembered having so much fun with this. There's a love triangle in here, which you don't know. I don't normally love triangles. Men that are trapped in tiger bodies and mythology in Indian culture, and just, I love this series. This series is so heavy though. These books are like 1,000 pounds, but they are gorgeous, and I remember loving them so much, and I will never ever get rid of them. Sorry, my copy is dusty. We've got Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead. I could have grabbed Bloodlines too, but they're like all the way up there, so I knew I was never going to get back down if I did. But Vampire Academy and Bloodlines. I've reread Vampire Academy, and I meant to read Bloodlines as I got through it, but then I just never got to it, unfortunately. But this is just one of those series that will just stick with me. I just remember reading these while I was finishing up grad school and just devouring them and like binge reading them. So definitely a series that I love. I would much rather read these than Twilight. Clearly Twilight's not in this list because I unhauled them. And then we've got Cinder by Marissa Meyer. This kind of stands out to me in a different way because of the fact that I really actually didn't like Cinder. It took me reading Scarlet to finally like, wow, I like this world. And then I really liked Cress and I really liked Winter, but it took me getting past Cinder first. I did not love this one. I think I gave this one like 3 stars, and then Scarlet like jumped up to 5 stars. So has definitely a sentimental feeling for me, and I won't get rid of these covers, especially because I've seen the new covers and I'm not a huge fan, so I'm going to hold on to these old beautiful covers. And the last one is probably the most obvious one because I've talked about it a lot recently, and that's The Hunger Games by Susan Collins. This is the original OG series that got me reading again. I was a reading machine in high school, and then I stopped. And I didn't really read. I'd read a couple books here and there in the summer, and then I wouldn't read anymore. And then 2012 hit, and this was going to become a movie, and I picked it up, and I haven't looked back since. I just thought of another series. I meant to grab it while I was up getting the other one. Hold on. This is Sarah the Traveling Pants series by Amber Shears. I love this series. I reread them already recently. Was it last summer or the summer before I reread these, and I still love them. I love the movies, even though the movies completely ruined the books. I remember reading these in high school, and they've always stuck with me. Most of my other high school books are home at my parents' house, in boxes in the basement, but these are the ones that managed to stay out. So these definitely have a good place in my heart. So yeah, those are all the books that I am super nostalgic about. What's a book that you're nostalgic about? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you guys really soon. Bye, everybody.